Penguin Random House Audio presents Kaddish.com by Nathan Englander. Read for you by Rob Shapiro. For my sister. Part 1. Chapter 1. Mirrors covered and front door ajar, collar torn and sporting a shadow of beard, Larry leans against the granite top of his sister's fancy kitchen island. He says, "Everyone's staring at me. All of your friends." "That's what people do," Dina tells him. "They come, they say kind things, they feel uncomfortable, and they stare." It's only hours after the funeral, and honestly, Larry hates himself for bringing it up. He really thought nothing could add to the despair of his father's loss, but this quiet, muttering stream of well-wishers has made it, for Larry, all the worse. What he's taking issue with is the look that he's getting. It's not the usual pained nod one naturally offers. Larry's convinced there's a bite to it. Condemning. He doesn't know how he'll survive a week trapped in his sister's home, in his sister's community, when every time one of the visitors glances over, Larry feels himself appraised. And so he keeps raising his hand to the top of his head, checking for the yarmulke, sitting there like a hubcap for all its emotional weight. Its absence at his own father's shiva would be the same as standing naked before them. Sneaked off into the kitchen with his sister, their first moment alone, Larry unloads his complaints in a hiss. "Tell them," he says, "to stop looking my way." "At a condolence call? You want them not to look at the—" Dina pauses. "What are we, the condoled? The aggrieved?" "We are the grievances. The mourners," she says. "You want them not to show that they care?" "I want them not to judge me just because I left their stupid world." Dina laughs. Her first since they put their father into the ground. "This is so like you," his sister tells him, "to make it negative. To complicate what can't be any more simple. This bitterness, in the face of what is pure niceness, is on you." "On me? Are you kidding? Are you really saying that? Today?" "You know that I am, little brother. I love you, Larry, but if you choose, even, yes, today, to throw one of your fits—" "My fits!" "Don't yell, Larry. People can hear." "Fuck the people." "Oh, that's nice." "I mean it," Larry says, thinking that fit may not be a completely inappropriate word. "Go on then. Curse at the terrible people who will cook for us and feed us and drive carpool for me all week and make sure that we don't mourn alone. Yes, curse at the nice men who washed our father's body and prepared the shroud and laid the shards atop his eyes, and now come to make a minion in this house. Spare me, Dina. It's my mourning too, and I should get to feel at home in your home as much as them." "Who's saying different? But you have to understand they aren't used to it, Larry. Used to what you do." Dina takes a breath, reorganizing her thoughts. "Memphis Jews are even more conservative than the ones we grew up with. In Brooklyn, even the edgeless have an edge. Here, if you're going to be radical, people may, a little bit, stare." Larry is now the one staring. He stands before his older sister, giving her the best of his blank looks. About what he was doing that anyone could think radical, Larry has no clue. "Tell me you don't know," she says. "Honestly. Tell me it's not on purpose. That you've actually forgotten so much." Honestly, I don't. And here Larry was going to swear, which Orthodox Jews are forbidden to do. In deference not so much to his sister, but to the opportunity to prove his innocence, that he is not as odd a duck as they think him, that he isn't doing anything anyone could consider wrong, Larry writes his sentence and, with a stutter, ends it on the word promise. "I promise," he says. "You really need me to tell you?" "I do." Dina rolls her eyes, as she has since Larry was old enough to understand what it meant, and likely before. She explains what she's sure he knows and is without a doubt doing on purpose. You step out into the yard, you read a book, she says, with true sisterly fury. You sit like it's nothing, on a regular chair. Larry straightens up at that, pushing with his hands against the counter, stepping back into the radius of his offense. He gives himself a moment, letting the blood flow to his cheeks, his face reddening as if like a chameleon he can change color at will. It's no reason to treat me like a freak, he says. They're just stupid rules. But even as he says it, rebellious little brother that he is, black sheep and yes, apostate, Larry understands that for Dina, they're much more than that. For him to step out of the house, to read a page for pleasure, and above all to reject that special Shiva perch, the low chair, the wooden box, a couch with the cushions removed. It is too much. That ancient pose, the mourner sitting slope-shouldered, ashen-faced and close to the ground, it represents for Dina pure sorrow. A stupid chair isn't what makes it mourning, Larry says, doubling down. Though he knows for his sister, a chair absolutely did. There lies Larry, wedged in his nephew's narrow bed, in his nephew's narrow room, freezing under the thin polyester comforter in Dina's arctically over-air-conditioned house. Sleep does not come on the first night of mourning, when Larry, mustering all his zazen-based mindfulness, cannot disengage from the shock of his own thoughts. He wants to scream daddy, and he wants to scream mommy. And it's that pure regression, on top of the grief, that has him so alarmed. A grown man, frustrated with his frustration, wrestling to keep his hurt pent up. If Larry wasn't already headed there on his own, Dina had nudged him the rest of the way back to childhood by sticking him in an 11-year-old's lair, instead of settling her 30-year-old brother in the more uncle-worthy den. But the den is where their father had taken sick during his Passover visit, is where he'd convalesced between the many trips to the hospital until his final, fateful admittance. That room was blocked off in Dina's mind. And so this skinny bed for Larry, on which he flips to face the glow of his nephew's aquarium. Its watery light bathes him while illuminating the wall opposite, the fish gliding before a shelf of giant trophies, the likes of which Larry, in his sporting years, had never won. And now he does not want to yell for his parents, but yell at his sister. Furious over what? He couldn't exactly say. Maybe it's the light of the tank, turned blinding, keeping a sleepless man awake. Maybe it's because in their already tiny family, his big sister hadn't been able to make their father not die. Or because when he was his nephew's tender age, Dina, older, wiser, hadn't been able to stop their flaky mother from running off to Marin County with Dennis, her ridiculous New Age husband. The newlyweds, fresh from a marriage that took place the very day their dear father held the get in his hands. Their mother had literally gone from her divorce in rabbinical court straight to a chuppah in Prospect Park. She'd forced Larry to hold one of the supporting poles, while Dennis broke the glass, stomping it with his fat, Birkenstocked foot. Larry shakes his head at the memory and, pressing a pillow over his face until he sees stars, he figures he's maybe mad at Dina simply for representing all that was left of the only family unit he'd ever known. Now it was the two of them, alone. Except Dina is not alone. She has her husband and her 3 kids and the hundreds of religious clanspeople who'd pour in all week. These Southern, Memphis, Gracelandian Jews who'd never give up or go.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?